Here are the top stories for today, July 22, 2021. More jobs coming. The country has so far received almost 30 million vaccine doses. Another 1.5 million doses of China's Sinovac vaccines arrived today. Pasig City rolls out the single-dose Janssen vaccines for senior citizens and persons with comorbidities. The city has also achieved a 100% first-dose vaccination rate for its over 44,000 eligible senior citizens. Focusing on key areas, the bulk of over 500,000 doses of government-brought Pfizer jobs will go to the NCR Plus 8 areas. And pushing for safe tourism, Siargao Island makes it to the list of Time Magazine's greatest places in 2021. Good day, I'm Marita Muaje. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The country's buffer stock of the COVID-19 vaccine is up as about 1.5 million doses of Sinovac have arrived this morning. The Cebu Pacific plane carrying the government-procured Sinovac vaccine arrives at the NAIA in Pasig City before 8 this morning. This latest shipment brings the total number of vaccine doses delivered to the Philippines to 29,985,130. The National Task Force says more Sinovac vaccines are expected to arrive tomorrow, July 23. The national government has procured 164 million doses of COVID-19 vaccines while sourcing additional shots from the COVAX facility and bilateral donations. This means the country will have a steady supply of jobs in the next 6 months. The 164 million doses are composed of 26 million doses of government-procured Sinovac, 40 million doses of Pfizer, 13 million doses of Moderna, and 10 million doses of Sputnik V. The private sector and LGUs have procured 7 million doses of Moderna and 17 million doses of AstraZeneca. Around 2 million doses will come from bilateral donations, while 44 million doses have been committed by the COVAX facility. The government and the COVAX have agreed on a cost-sharing agreement for the procurement of 5 million doses of the Janssen vaccine. Secretary Delphine Lorenzana, who is the chairperson of the National Task Force Against COVID-19, says they are now awaiting the delivery of 136.1 million additional doses. He says the government is on track in the implementation of the vaccination program and that they are looking forward to having a better Christmas this year. Meanwhile, vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. said the principle of being a friend to all, enemy to none of the Duterte administration has enabled the Philippines to secure more than 12 million doses from COVAX facility, including the U.S. government's donation and the more than 2 million doses from Japan and China. Galvez says the UK government also notified the National Task Force of their donation of 415,000 doses of AstraZeneca vaccines that are expected to arrive within this month. The country's vaccination drive got a boost with the arrival of U.S.-donated Johnson & Johnson vaccines. The vaccines were rolled out in Pasig City today for senior citizens and persons with comorbidities. Mayor Vico Soto said the city has reached 100% first-dose vaccination rate for its senior citizens. The city has over 44,000 senior citizens who are eligible for vaccination. Close to 5,000 single-dose Johnson vaccines were allocated to Pasig. During the event, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 Deputy Chief Implementer said the country has administered 16 million jobs as of Thursday. He also praised local government units for remaining unfazed by bad weather in administering jobs to their constituents.
I'm very proud and happy to announce that as of today, we have already administered 16 million doses throughout the country. Kung maaalala nyo, nung Monday, kaka-announce pa lang ni Spokeshari na nag-15 million tayo. And as of today, just 4 days after, 3 days after, we already hit 16 million doses as of Thursday, July 22. Pero hindi tayo titigil dyan. Kailangan tuloy-tuloy pa rin. Kahapon, 350,000 doses tayo. May bagyo pa yon.
Senior citizens and persons with comorbidities also shared their experience after getting the single-dose jobs.
Wala naman. Parang ano lang, parang tanggatlanan lang daw.
Natakot kasi matagal namin makasunod.
The government has called on the public to strictly adhere to the minimum public health standards amid reports of local cases of the Delta variant. Presidential spokesperson Secretary Harry Roque emphasized that getting jobs with a COVID-19 vaccine is effective against the highly transmissible variant.
Nanatiling parehas ang ating mga estratehiya. Ngunit, mas papaintingin pa po natin ang pagpapatupad ng minimum public health protocols. Kasama na rito po ang ating minimum public health standards, order, control measures at quarantine testing and contact tracing protocols. Sa madaling salita, intensified PDITR or prevent, detect, isolate, treat, reintegrate ang gagawin natin.
The National Capital Region Plus 8 gets the bulk of the newly arrived Pfizer vaccines as the cities in these areas are capable of storing the sensitive shots. The NCR Plus 8 is composed of Metro Manila, Cavite, Laguna, Pampanga, Batangas, Rizal, Bulacan, Metro Davao, and Metro Cebu. A total of 562,770 out of the 40 million doses of the jobs purchased by the government arrived in the country yesterday. Of these doses, 51,480 each will be distributed to Cebu and Davao, while the rest were transported to Luzon. Vaccine Czar Carlito Galvez said the national government has also allocated at least 30,000 doses for seafarers whose destinations requires a specific brand of vaccine like Pfizer. 3 cities in Metro Manila will also administer the jobs, but he declined to disclose the areas. Pfizer is scheduled to ship more doses on July 26 and August 3 to complete the initial 1.4 million it committed to deliver as soon as possible. Galvez said that while he is confident that the 40 million doses they ordered will arrive within the year, there is no timeline yet as to when specific deliveries will be made. The local government units are working double time to vaccinate more and more people as the government continuously pours in COVID-19 vaccines in their areas. More on this from Joyce Cudis.
The Department of Health in the Sorsogon region is set to acquire additional cold storage equipment to boost their vaccine supplies. DOH 12 Director Dr. Aristides Concepcion Tan said they are working on the purchase of at least 2 large freezers that can carry more vaccines and handle those with ultra-cold storage requirements. The DOH 12's cold chain facility in Cotabato City can accommodate at least 400,000 doses currently. Vaccine czar Carlito Galvez Jr. earlier said that the region must have a storage of at least 700,000 to 1 million vaccines like in some other regions. Galvez also said that the rollout of the vaccines in the region should be fast-tracked and maximized amid the threats posed by the spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant. Aside from government workers, Galvez said it should also cover those working in vulnerable industries and establishments. Meanwhile, senior citizens in Central Visayas are urged to get vaccinated with Janssen jab as soon as possible as local health officials target to finish their inoculation within the month. Dr. Mario Jean Loreche of the Department of Health in Region 7 said they are hunting down all seniors that are master listed to give the single-dose vaccine. And in Baguio City, 60 more vaccinators are hired to be deployed at the 4 COVID-19 mega vaccination sites. The city government will also open another vaccination hub soon. The vaccinators are part of the 115 additional manpower of the local government for the COVID-19 medical response. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Joyce Cudis.
With more vaccine arrivals in the country, the government is positive we can combat the dreaded COVID-19 disease and its highly transmissible variants. Malacanang stressed the importance of getting the jobs. Let's hear the experiences of some of our kababayans on getting vaccinated.
Sumakit lang po yung katawan ko. 24 hours, wala na po. Okay na po.
Okay naman, parang wala lang. Parang hindi ako napakuha. Pero sa yung husband ko, sumakit eh. Parang nanghihina siya. Pero ako wala lang.
Still to come, around 24 individuals are set to return to Camarines Sur through the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program. And a new pumping station is set to ease flooding in Mandaluyong City. Details ahead, this is the PNA Newsroom.
The COVID-19 pandemic has greatly changed our lives for the worse. Lives and jobs were lost and economies reached a meltdown. Thanks to the arrival of safe and effective vaccines, we are one step closer to normalcy. It's time to do our part, get vaccinated for our safety and for our recovery.
You are there in that community, go there and have yourself vaccinated by any of the vaccines available. They are all potent, they are all effective.
I would like to appeal to all our kababayans, please get vaccinated against COVID-19 and be the government partner in preventing further spread of the disease. I encourage you to get vaccinated as soon as possible time. These vaccines are safe and they are the key to reopening our society. The need for international solidarity and cooperation cannot be made clearer than this pandemic because everyone is safe. No one is safe globally until everybody is safe.
Vaccines work.
The national government has directed city officials and other stakeholders in General Santos City to strengthen the area's control measures, especially in the ports and sea borders, due to the threats posed by the COVID-19 Delta variant. Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., Chief Implementer of the National Task Force, said the city has high vulnerability in terms of its spread due to its proximity to Indonesia and the open ports. He said although the area has not yet detected any case of local transmission of the Delta variant, it could later pose serious problems. Galvez said they approved the city government's request for the delivery of some 10,000 doses to immediately start the inoculation activities. Meanwhile, Negros Occidental will not allow more flights at Bacolod Silay Airport. Governor Eugenio Jose Lacson said they have to be careful amid the threat of the Delta variant. For July, the Philippine Airlines, Cebu Pacific Air, and Philippines Air Asia have alternately landed at Bacolod Silay Airport 2 to 3 times a week from Manila. And in Zamboanga City, the no swab, no entry policy is still in effect. City Health Officer Dr. Dulce Amor Miravites said the implementation of the policy remains as even those who are fully vaccinated could still catch the virus. She said the city cannot lift its policy, especially with the ongoing threat of the Delta variant. The government's move to give a fresh start to people who would like to return to their hometowns continues, and now it's the turn of Bicolanos. A total of 24 individuals or 8 families are bound to return to Camarines Sur later tonight through the Balik Probinsya Bagong Pag-asa program or BP2. Earlier today, the beneficiaries underwent an RT-PCR or swab test at the BP2 depot in Quezon City to ensure that they are negative for the coronavirus disease or COVID-19. Those who will test positive will be brought to an isolation facility for a 14-day quarantine together with their family members. During the quarantine period, BP2 organizers assured that the needs of the families will be provided, including food. Meanwhile, those who will test negative result will proceed to the send-off procedure before being sent back to Camarines Sur. This batch of BP2 beneficiaries will travel to Bicol by bus and are expected to arrive in Camarines Sur tomorrow morning. For this year, the BP2 program has so far sent families back to different provinces, including Leyte and Isabela. The number of recoveries from COVID-19 continues to increase in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, with a 92% recovery rate posted as of Tuesday night. BARM Health Minister Dr. Bashari Latif said Wednesday the region has logged over 8,300 recoveries out of the total 9,088 confirmed cases since the start of the pandemic in March last year. In the last 2 days alone, the region recorded a 90% recovery rate, which is considered a high mark compared to other areas in the country. Tuesday's data provided by the Ministry of Health showed 20 new recoveries in Cotabato City and 4 in Lanao del Sur. However, 9 new cases were tallied in the region on the same day, the highest being 4 in Cotabato City. Meanwhile, the active cases stand at 419. The MOH also recorded 3 new deaths. 3 patients in diarrhea-stricken Barangay Tulalian in Santo Tomas, Davao del Norte have reportedly tested positive for COVID-19. The Santo Tomas Municipal Health Office said the results of the RT-PCR tests of the 3 were released on Tuesday. The 3 patients include a 20-year-old man who is symptomatic, while the 2 others are asymptomatic. Mayor Ernesto Evangelista declared a diarrhea outbreak in Barangay Tulalian on July 16 following the death of a resident. 47 others were confined in various public and private hospitals. Meanwhile, 2 diarrhea patients died on Tuesday afternoon, bringing to 3 the total number of deaths. 8 others were found out to be positive for cholera. As of Tuesday, the total number of diarrhea cases stood at 444. In our news overseas, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention announced that the Delta variant of COVID-19 accounts for 83% of new cases, as deaths spiked significantly from 2 weeks ago. In an update to Congress, CDC head Rochelle Walensky said in some parts of the country, the percentage is even higher, particularly in areas of low vaccination rates. Walensky said the average daily death count has climbed to about 239 per day, an increase of nearly 48% from the previous week. Hospitalizations are on the rise in 37 states. Walensky said it was the goal of the Biden administration to reach populations where resistance to the vaccines is highest. He said each death is tragic and even more heartbreaking, as a majority of this could be prevented with a simple, safe, available vaccine. The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority unveiled on Wednesday a new pumping station in Mandaluyong to help ease flooding in the city and nearby low-lying areas. MMDA Chair Benjamin Abalos Jr. showcased the new infrastructure in Aglipay Bridge, Barangay Poblacion, which is meant to serve the areas of Bonifacio Avenue and F. Ortigas. The collected water from the pump will be released to the San Juan River. Abalos said the MMDA is studying the possibility of installing more pumping stations. However, he said pumping stations will not be enough to mitigate flooding in Metro Manila if the public continues to dump waste in waterways. To mitigate waste dumping, Abalos has asked Metro Manila mayors to penalize indiscriminate waste dumping and suggested community service as punishment for violators. In our business news, the Department of Finance and Bureau of Internal Revenue have agreed to withdraw Revenue Regulation 9-2021, which imposed 12% value-added tax on exporter transactions that were previously taxed at 0%. House Ways and Means Committee Chair Joey Salceda thanked Finance Secretary Carlos Dominguez III for this decision, saying it will help the country's export industry to get the breather it needs to recover. Salceda said the DOF will implement the provision of the Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises or create law which allows exporters to enjoy VAT zero rating on local purchases of goods and services. He also said he will continue to work with BIR and DOF to address small exporter concerns. Salceda noted that the DOF intends on modernizing tax administration and closing down loopholes. He said Congress is ready to work with the executive to draft the necessary legislation to improve the system. Up next, it's business as usual inside the Athletes Village ahead of the opening of the Tokyo Olympics. And Siargao Island makes it to the list of Time Magazine's greatest places. Back after a quick break, stay with the PNA Newsroom. You're still watching the PNA Newsroom. The national government has allocated 120 million pesos to implement development projects in villages in northern Samar that were cleared from the influence of the CPP-NPA. At least 35 projects will kick off in 6 communities this year as concerned agencies and officials have started making detailed plans to carry out the barangay development program. These include farm-to-market roads, water and sanitation system, health stations, school buildings, electrification, million assistance to poor families, and million agricultural and livelihood training assistance. Recipients are the villages of Quezon and Calanchao in Catarman, Hitupian, Nagoocan, and Osang villages in Katubig, and San Miguel village in Las Navas town. The BDP is a flagship program of the National Task Force on Ending Local Communist Armed Conflict, which was conceptualized to address insurgency by bringing sustainable solutions and basic services to communities in need. Communications Secretary Martin Andanar on Wednesday commended the efforts of the Security, Peace and Justice Cabinet Cluster in leading government programs against armed groups and insurgents. Andanar, who moderated the pre-SONA forum of the PJCC hailed the cluster's determination in ensuring that the needs of Filipinos everywhere are being addressed amid the pandemic. He said the projects established under this administration are testimonies to how the government is a government for the people that adheres to tapang at malasakit. Defense Secretary Delphine Lorenzana meanwhile discussed accomplishments in establishing peace and order in conflict-affected areas. The Defense Department has offered social services to encourage rebels to return to the fold of the government. Over 18,000 former rebels have been reintegrated into the society since President Rodrigo Duterte sat in office through the Enhanced Comprehensive Local Integration Program. The government also launched the Togon program for former rebels in the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao. In sports, it's business as usual inside the athletes' village of the Summer Olympic Games in Tokyo, despite Japan being in a state of emergency. Team Philippines physician Dr. Randy Molo said athletes go about their businesses with guarded optimism inside the 44 hectares athletes' village located in Tokyo's Harumi Waterfront District. He said athletes are able to move around in the open but with the usual masks and social distancing. The athletes' village has been hogging the spotlight lately from participants testing positive of the virus to cardboard beds. The athletes have everything they need, from 48,000 kinds of meals to choose from to appointments with massage therapists. Athletes, officials, and coaches numbering 6,700 undergo saliva testing for COVID-19 daily. Olympic organizers are hoping the village can be a COVID-free bubble following the release of their so-called playbook rules on how athletes should move between competition venues, training centers, and their accommodation. Siargao Island has made it into Time Magazine's list of the world's 100 greatest places of 2021. The list recognizes destinations that were able to adapt and innovate despite the challenges brought about by the pandemic. Tourism Secretary Bernadette Romulo Puyat hailed Siargao's inclusion as a recognition of the country's continuous efforts to make the country a safe destination. Siargao earned its spot on Time Magazine's list not only because of its waves that attract surfers, but also because of its ongoing development to strengthen tourism infrastructure. Time Magazine writer Duncan Forgan also cited the new spots that can be booked online in the island, as well as facilities such as cell towers to improve data connectivity. The DOT said Siargao is now open to domestic tourists coming from areas under general community quarantine and modified GCQ. Surigao del Norte 1st District Representative Francisco C. Matugas II also welcomed the recognition of Siargao Island by Time Magazine. In a statement, he thanked the magazine for recognizing the creativeness and resilience of the people of Siargao Island. He said the recognition is the magazine's tribute to the people of Siargao and to the businesses that continue to flourish despite the risks posed by COVID-19. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories. More jobs coming. The country has so far received almost 30 million vaccine doses. Another 1.5 million doses of China's Sinovac vaccines arrived today. Pasig City rolls out the single-dose Janssen vaccines for senior citizens and persons with comorbidities. The city has also achieved a 100% first-dose vaccination rate for its over 44,000 eligible senior citizens. Focusing on key areas, the bulk of over 500,000 doses of government-brought Pfizer jobs will go to the NCR Plus 8 areas. And pushing for safe tourism, Siargao Island makes it to the list of Time Magazine's greatest places in 2021. As Filipinos, we all have a vital role to play in preventing the spread of COVID-19. So remember, wear face masks and face shields, wash your hands often, practice safe physical distancing, go out only for essential reasons, and get vaccinated as soon as possible to protect ourselves, our families, and the community. Together, we can beat COVID-19. Thank you for watching another episode of the PNA Newsroom. For more news content, check our webpage or log on to the Philippine News Agency's Facebook and Twitter accounts. For more stories about the government and how it serves Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. We are shown on the pages of the PCOO and its attached agencies. Also, watch us on television on PTV4 and the IBC 13. And that's your daily dose of the biggest stories that you need to know from the PNA Newsroom. We tell stories that inspire change. I'm Marita Muaje. Have a good day.